You've hit play on the Screen Companion, where we'll help you pick something for movie night. Today we're talking Akira. Because I'm a dumb American, I've heard it pronounced Akira. That just doesn't sound very good to my ear, so I'm going to call it Akira.
We're American. We can say Akira.
Because then it also sounds like Acura. We're not talking about the car. So, Akira from 1988 and Metropolis. And I wonder how the Japanese would pronounce Metropolis.
That's a very good question.
From 2001. Hey, if you want to take a stab at it since you've been to Japan, John, go ahead.
I will not, because some of those letters could get pretty dicey trying to pronounce it in an Asian accent.
I know you just end up digging yourself a hole.
If anyone listened, I'd be canceled.
One of these days, maybe in this very podcast, I'll find a way to trick you, sir.
Oh, no.
But for now, you have avoided my trap. Good for you.
Thank you.
Tell us, what is Akira about?
Oh, jeez. Civil unrest reigned supreme in Neo-Tokyo, post-war environment ruled by biker gangs. One such gang has their world turned upside down when member Tetsuo has a fateful encounter with a government secret that gives him psychic powers that sends him on a rampage that threatens the world. Can gang leader Kanata stop him before it's too late?
There's going to be a lot of me saying I'm not going to try to pronounce them properly. The friend, the gang leader, it's spelled Kaneda.
It's basically Canada with a slight, I guess, Spanish accent. Cañada.
Canada!
Yeah.
But when I try to say it, it just feels like I'm making fun of it. So I'm just going to say the country. It's Canada. He's Canada.
Say Canada. There's a road near me. It's got the accents over the end, so it's literally said Cañada. That's how I kept hearing it, but yeah, I think we should stick to just saying Canada.
When did you first become aware of Akira?
I want to say the early 2000s. I think they did a redub to make it more appealing to American audiences.
I think I saw a scene from that right before we started recording because I was curious what the dub sounded like. Because I think you're a lot like me. I think we agree in this that it's better to go subs over dubs.
Yes. I did do dubs for Metropolis because I hadn't seen it before. But especially if I've seen the material before, I want to stick to the sub.
And when I watched the clip of the dub, it seemed like it was pretty good quality, so maybe it was the more recent version of it.
I think so, yeah.
It sounded more natural. Like, usually a lot of English dubbed anime, they always sound a bit manic or choppy in the delivery.
The lips are animated to Japanese, which is visually a manic language on the lips.
This clip I saw, they sounded more naturalistic. And I think they were getting away with it because sometimes the characters would open their mouths and instead of trying to match it to words, they would just match it to sounds.
Yeah.
Like, huh. I think that's the key. Don't try to assign a word to every time they open their mouth.
Go with feeling, don't go with accuracy.
I remember seeing the VHS at my local movie gallery, which used to be a Total Video. That was back when I was very young and not into reading subtitles, because I've always been leery of dubs. And then going to San Francisco for college, there was a lot of J-pop. That might have been the first time I had even heard the term. And anime lovers around, and they said I had to watch Akira. I believe I saw one random 20-second clip at a college party, and that was really all I needed until this episode. When I was talking about maybe getting into anime again for an episode, I think you mentioned Akira.
It feels like one of those, you gotta watch it.
Because it's seminal.
That's the word I was totally looking for. I think I talked about this in our subtitled episode. I think the first episode I was on. It was baby's first anime. For a lot of people, this is the clicking of like, oh, it's not just kids stuff. This is like a real story with a powerful message.
But this wasn't toward the beginning of your anime journey, was it?
No, I was late teens or possibly early 20s.
Do you think it's something people should start with, or that they should discover later on like you and definitely me have done?
If you're just like a film guy, if you're a film guy who doesn't want to give anime a chance, I think maybe, yeah, this could be the first one that you can really sit down and see, like, they have a message. Yes, it gets weird, but it's trying to be film.
Well, not to bury the lead, I didn't hate it, and I think it says something that I did watch the full 2 hours.
You take that, Speed Racer.
Oh, absolutely. I'd watch Akira 1,000,000 times before I'd ever go back to that crap. You hear me, Andrew? Taking a step back, out of the two of us, and out of, I think, all of my other guests, you're my Japanese culture guy.
Oh.
You've been to Japan. What early non-Godzilla media got you into Japanese films or shows?
Before school, Dragon Ball Z and Pokemon were on. As a teenager, it was like, oh, what is violence? Yes! Poor Pokemon. That's just slavery that we don't need to get into.
I felt that. I thought that when I saw it. Wait a second.
This is animal cruelty.
Yeah.
They're keeping them in their tiny little cages, too, on your belt? What if you fall over?
I guess PETA doesn't exist in this universe.
No, PETA don't give a crap. A parent in the 80s would go in and rent cartoons, and my mom would rent Unico the Last Unicorn, which was kind of horrific. It was about this wizard trying to build a castle, and he's turning the townspeople into stones instead of just building a castle.
Oh, is that 80s or 90s?
80s. She would also rent Nausicaa in the Valley of the Wind for me, and I think that was heavily edited to be something else entirely. I was so young I don't remember. And I try to talk to my family about it, and they only bring up the fact that when I wasn't making memories, I'd watch Ewok movies every day. But I don't remember those. I remember these. I remember the anime.
When you're talking about Dragon Ball and Pokemon, that's a fork in the road where I turned off to one lane and you turned off to the other side, because I'm listening to you and I don't get how that stuff didn't turn you off to Japanese stuff, because I was giving Dragon Ball a little bit of a chance, Pokemon, but the first thing I noticed was, damn, this is so repetitive. Didn't it strike you as that at all?
Maybe, but it was before school. School was repetitive. It's like the whole life was repetitive at that point, so I don't know if I did notice. So that's probably, you're an independent thinker and I got caught up in the machine type of deal.
Oh man, that's a good point. I like that. Yeah, it's like, what else can we expect? You get up, take the school bus, listen to some boring teachers, come back, do homework, go to sleep, wake up, do it all again.
Yeah.
I can't help but get another dig in on Pokemon because I hate how long that franchise has lasted. And as far as I know, it has not evolved, ironically, past its initial stage. I hated it because it felt like every episode was either Ash telling Pikachu, I believe in you, Pikachu! Or it was, Pikachu, I need you to believe in me! So, as you developed more of an interest in Japanese stuff, did you have anybody in your town you could talk to about it?
Yeah, a few of my friends were into that stuff. My buddy Jeff, I got him into Dragon Ball Z, and then he later showed me Akira. My buddy Chad was super into Pokemon.
Now, were you just able to find the two other weirdos in school, or was Japanimation something that other people might discuss in the school halls?
Both. It was a small town, farming community. When two other people like anime, that's like 5% of the school's population.
Well, how about when you moved to San Francisco? So suddenly there's a huge contingent of students that are into this stuff. Did you jump right into that crowd, or did you have to slowly reveal your anime taste to them?
I think I jumped right in. There were some Japanese kids in the dorm, and I was straight up like, Goku, hell yeah!
Now, is that just the name you're giving an Asian kid that you saw in the hallway, or are you talking about the show?
I was talking about the show.
Wow, your hair's different, Goku.
So, yeah. Is it because you're not angry? That gets you angry. Let's make that blonde.
Where's the yelling?
You should be yelling for 3 episodes straight.
Why aren't you floating 50 feet in the air?
That was the most disappointing part.
You finally met a Japanese person and there's no way he could live up to what you imagined.
Oh, yeah, the hype train just crashed hard.
And then when you visited Japan, it's like, oh my god, where are the Godzilla crossing signs?
There was one of those. That went the opposite direction. There was a giant Godzilla. There was a huge robot.
Yeah, I remember those pictures from your trip. Yeah, it was cool. And highly expected.
Oh, yeah.
If it was there, you would find it.
Oh, yeah. I've definitely found the giant robot. Apparently there's more than one, and I didn't find them all.
Thanks to all our listeners across a multitude of platforms like Podbean, YouTube, and Amazon Music, and a variety of countries such as the UK, Brazil, Germany, and Australia. Further support the host by purchasing his sci-fi novels, Traversal, The Weight of Worlds, and Self-Recognition, available on Amazon.com in both digital and print formats. So for you, your own personal, non-academic definition, what do you think anime is?
Normally I would say, I'd be generic and be like, oh, it's, animation from Japan, but one could argue that Avatar: The Last Airbender is an anime, and that's not from Japan. It's just a quality animation that deals with adult themes, but you don't necessarily have to be an adult to get it. I mean, it helps.
Now, when you say get it, do you mean that the audience understands it, or that it's palatable to a younger audience?
I would say palatable to a younger audience.
That's funny you say quality animation, because then there are plenty of things made in Japan that I've seen animation-wise that look like garbage. So that wouldn't fit into your definition. I appreciate that.
I gotta think it through.
And it makes it less ethnocentric. It's like, yeah, okay, just because you might be Japanese or making it in Japan, you don't automatically get to call it anime. You gotta be good, too.
Yeah, you can't just rest on your laurels.
Well, from the stuff I've seen, and listening to fans discuss their favorite aspects of certain properties, I see anime as big ideas presented with an in-your-face approach. Lots of archetypes, complicated plots, the overall ideas at least. And they're not afraid to draw tits and gore. Of course, there's stuff on the fringes that include really well-formed characters and are restrained in their action and sex scenes. Definitely they exist. But I think the stuff that punches through and gets lauded over the most are the balls-to-the-wall pieces. What do you think, John?
What's the term? Squeaky wheel gets the grease?
Yep. Who knew that giant flappy boobies were the squeakiest of wheels?
Huge flappy boobies. And I blame their censorship board. The language is overly specific. The two big ones are, you're not allowed to show pubic hair. So when you're drawing anime boobies, they gotta be clean. And somewhere in one of their bylaws it specifically says you're not allowed to show a penis entering a vagina. So you could show a penis, and you could show a vagina, but they can't have social interactions, if you will. And that's where a lot of the tentacle stuff comes in, because the tentacle isn't a penis.
Yeah, if anything, it shows us that people will find a way around censorship.
Life finds a way.
Now, do you think that Akira is the best it can be via animation, or could it have been better in live action?
Especially at the time, animation was the way to go. Live action, yeah, you could probably have something just as spectacular or possibly better, but the reality is, like, behind the scenes, all that stuff costs money. That's a lot of CGI. You gotta pay really good actors. Money-wise, I don't think you could get the same result.
I don't think you could have the same level of artistry if it was made with real sets and people. But I think live action would have imbued those body horror scenes with more weight.
Oh, God, yeah.
Like when Tetsuo turns into a gigantic blob monster, I was focused on the craft of the animation and how long that sequence must have taken to draw. Now, if it was a real actor in a giant squishy suit like From Beyond or Slither, I would have felt the ick more than I did.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely been way more disgusting. They might not have been trying to go for disgusting.
What were they going for?
Big Bang Baby, I guess.
Oh yeah, there's a little bit of 2001 in there.
Definitely ends on a 2001 note. It trying to grab people, for sure, I think that would have impacted more of just like, this is, you really would have felt, like you said, the ick of being there and seeing this happen.
Oh, when you said it was trying to grab people, that's a double entendre. Because the scene is trying to grab your emotions at the same time that the blob monster is just trying to grab people and absorb them.
Yeah.
So the young girl that was at least friends with Tetsuo, maybe his on and off girlfriend, I never quite understood their relationship, but she just flat out got killed, right?
Yeah, she was crushed inside.
Smothered by the blob? Yeah, I feel like that just gets forgotten about.
When Kanado was talking about trying to save her, they showed her get blood explosion murdered.
I would say the movie surprisingly has a bit of a happy ending. But not really, because you think about all the people that must have died.
Because it wasn't just there where people died. It's when Tetsuo was heading toward the sports complex to get Akira. People got caught in that crossfire. Plus, the whole movie, there was civil unrest. Terrorist acts by that one cell that Kai belonged to.
That cell was ultimately funded by the Prime Minister or the President. He was on the Executive Council, I know that much. Evil capitalist guy.
He looked like a beaver. Or a hedgehog or something. The way his hair was and his teeth.
Yeah, he was definitely supposed to not represent the best of politics.
That's true. He was not.
When we think of Japanese stuff, the first theme we come to is radiation, fallout, people getting crazy powers through unnatural means and science run amok. But I'm seeing a through line with a lot of stuff that I've been exposed to, counting this show, like Jinro, the Wolf Brigade, Akira, even Metropolis. There seems to be a lot of Japanese material where they're talking about civil unrest and overthrowing the government. Coups are happening left and right. What do you think that is? Why do they put that in so much of their stuff, it feels like? Or am I wrong?
No, you're right. They talk about this a lot in Godzilla -1. The government leading into World War II, it was an empire. They were a expanding empire, and they were forcing their citizens to become this war society. All those people who survived the war and became filmmakers were making movies like Godzilla, the original, about all the horrors of the war. And then they raised other people, and at the time, that's what you do when you're still under a shitty government. Because the first 10 years after the war, something like that, it was a provisional government by the United States. Basically a new government trying to find its feet. And filmmakers are allowed to not be happy with it.
What Western properties does Akira remind you of?
I think the number one, you'll agree, is Blade Runner, right out of the gate.
As far as what?
The visuals, it's got that big, gritty city of lights, but somehow it's so dark.
Yeah, and oppressive.
It's supposed to be the pinnacle of technology, but everyone's just worse.
It feels emotionless. There's no humanity to it. The kids that had been experimented on and they had those wacky mind powers totally got me thinking of 11. And when they do that flashback toward the end of the movie, totally 11 vibes. I think the Duffer Brothers took some inspiration from this.
Absolutely.
But it also got me thinking how the Duffers made me care about 11 in one episode, whereas a 2-hour film never enabled me to get behind Tetsuo, or Canada for that matter. Did you really access any of the characters?
I felt for Tetsuo. I get where he's coming from, but he did it wrong. He's the whipping boy, and he finally has the ability to not be the whipping boy, and of course, immediately, off the deep end.
Is that the biggest theme of the movie, that absolute power corrupts absolutely?
This seems to be a natural evolution of power, and they don't seem to know what they're doing with it. I think it's more of a don't mess with nature theme. You could generally say that about anything Japanese themed a lot of the times and be right.
How crazy Tetsuo got once he had the powers. Do you think that all stemmed from his psychological problems, or was he possibly possessed by some otherworldly force?
I like to think he was possessed. I want to say he was a good kid, and Akira got in his head and made him go boom.
I hope so too, because otherwise it's like what they do show us of his backstory. It feels like it's making the argument, well, you know, this kid, he grew up in a home for unwanted children, and he just never really felt like he was loved, so that's why he's going to be a total asshole now and kill everybody.
I don't know. When Tetsuo and Canada were quote-unquote fighting, I guess, Canada had that laser beam gun. I feel like Tetsuo could have just blown his head up at any moment, and he was holding back. I'd like to think there was still humanity in there.
Now, as far as Tetsuo developing his powers, did that shadowy government organization just come across him and see that he had potential, so they scooped him up? Or because he was near one of those raisin kids, did one of them give him powers? What's the explanation there? I don't really know.
That was,
Because what a crazy coincidence if Tetsuo just had that ability all along.
I think he just got too close. They keep bringing up Akira, and the patterns match. Like I said, I like to think he's being possessed by Akira. And this is... You're going to ask me about criticisms. It's easy to get lost. It's easy to lose this fucking story.
I feel like that's a hallmark of anime, so...
Yeah. When you first watch it, if you're watching, like, the dub, they're changing words. And this one is famous for having two different dubs. Because we talked about the remaster remake dub that came out after.
But you're saying the actual substance of what they're saying is different, too?
A lot of times the story gets lost in translation. Even with the subs. Even sometimes the subs get translated wrong.
Yeah, I know of at least 2 translations for Metropolis. Just the smallest details that they put in. Like maybe somebody saying something on PA speaker, and in one version they don't write the subtitle at all for what that person's saying, and then the other one they do. That really does change it by including stuff like that.
It's a big famous one, the Dragon Ball Z meme. His power level's over 9,000, but in the original it's over 8,000. I don't know why people get upset, because if it's over 9,000, then it's over 8,000. But that's a big change.
Are we talking Scovilles?
Yes.
What meter is 8 and 9,000?
Power levels, Scoville, spiciness.
Just power level TM? I mean, what is it?
Goku's spiciness is over 9,000.
But you know, one of these days, man, we'll unlock total human potential to hit those millions of Scovilles just like a habanero.
There's no way you wouldn't instantly shit yourself just having that pepper in your mouth.
What was your favorite part of the filmmaking in Akira?
That whole opening segment of the biker gang fight between the two, and just the world building in that whole section, showing how big Neo Tokyo is and how bright and light it is. At the same time, you're down in the muck with these guys.
I totally agree. I was thinking, as the movie got more fantastical, and leaned heavier into, I suppose, anime tropes. I was thinking, man, why couldn't this just be a biker movie? Why couldn't this be the anime version of the Warriors?
It kind of was.
Taking on these colorful biker gangs. It was for tiny segments, and then we get right back into the incredible mind power stuff.
That's what makes it anime, otherwise it would just be the Warriors.
With really cool animation. I'd also say the smoothness of the animation is superlative. All the Flash animation crap we have today, movies that all look wooden. I weep for that bygone era of cartoon quality. And I don't know if that's even really the standard even for Japanese stuff anymore. What do you think of modern anime?
I'll agree with your take. The technology, it's in a state of disarray, I would say. Because of the use of technology, more people can get in. It's like filmmaking. Now everyone can pick up a camera and start making something. It's oversaturated, so you get a lot of people who aren't good at it getting jobs. There's still really good quality animation. Go watch One Punch Man Season 1. That's really good stuff, not to be mean to the animators of Season 2. It's still there. We now also have a lot of other stuff where less talented people can put something into a computer. We'll say differently talented people.
Differently talented? Differently abled?
That makes it where it's, I'm digging too hard. Their talent is a technology, so they're able to get into animation. How about that?
I had to look it up. I wasn't sure if they had used any CGI, and they did for like a couple shots. It really wasn't a notable use of CGI. But once we get into Metropolis, which is by then the early 2000s, feels like it was rearing its ugly head more, and then it burst its viscera completely onto the scene. Everything now has to be a mixture of 2D and CGI stuff.
That's 100% accurate.
Do you think they do a pretty good job of integrating it now, where it's like, I don't know, 60-40 or 50-50, or do you think it's to their detriment?
I think it has to be a case-to-case based. You still can't CGI things that move. You can't do humans. You get into the uncanny valley. The number one thing our brains are hardwired to recognize is humans, so if you start CGIing people, the brain knows. No matter how good it looks, the brain knows. It makes you feel uneasy. If you CGI a mountain that doesn't move, no one's going to notice that. Not anymore.
Jumping ahead briefly, what did you think of the use of CGI in Metropolis?
I think it worked, just for what I just said. I think they only CGI'd things that didn't move.
Oh no, those CGI things moved. It was machinery stuff, if I recall correctly.
That's what it was. Solid objects. Because people move weird, and computers don't know that. All the people were animated, the robots were animated, and stationary objects that, moved because, whatever reason, explosions or because the things move. That was CG. It worked.
Well, jumping off of that, what's your biggest criticism of Akira?
We already got into how easy it is to lose the story and what's going on here.
There isn't a lot of story. I mean, they tickle your brain with some basic ideas, but they never really delve into any of it.
They're going broader strokes. It's about a big picture issue. They're trying to put a spotlight on government corruption, civil unrest, potential monster rampaging through Tokyo, and it's up to the government to put it down.
What do you think it is with a lot of anime? Do you think they start the crazy visuals first and they go, okay, Tetsuo's gonna blow up a satellite in space? Well, how are we gonna explain that? Oh, let's have a character do a little speech, mention amoebas and evolution. Or do you think they start with that kernel of a sci-fi idea, like human evolution, and we just don't know how far we're gonna advance? And then they say, well, okay, we started with the idea, now what does that look like? And that's when they get into the giant buildings crashing.
You start with the idea, and then eventually giant buildings are crashing. We talk about J.J. Abrams a lot, and we give him a lot of shit, but let's be honest, we don't give him enough shit. You can tell he's a filmmaker who just has a visual in his head, and he tries to build around that. And everything he does feels hollow and useless. And this feels the opposite, where they have the idea, they have the groundwork, and then they build the visuals on top of that.
I want to believe that. But I wish one aspect of the story they would really dig their heels into and give us more of it. Like, the characters are as two-dimensional as the animation. Canada is in decay. Why? Doesn't matter. Who's Tetsuo beyond an orphan with a chip on his shoulder? Well, he likes bikes. Okay. Those creepy raisin kids with the psychic powers. One of them tried to escape or was kidnapped at the beginning. I'm not quite sure. I guess he didn't care when they took him back to the facility. Or did he care? We don't have any scenes with that. Do any of those kids care about their freedom, or do they love the facility they're at? And what are the parameters of their mental powers, John?
They build toy monsters.
It's whatever cool visual the animators want to show us.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I won't defend that because, again, I think they're going for bigger, broader strokes. They're trying to tell the tale of a shitty government and nature run amok, man trying to control nature.
And I'll toot my stinky horn again. I've written scripts, I've written a few novels, and I think I'm hypercritical about this stuff with story because it's like I know what it feels like when you're trying to come up with the connective tissue between your big ideas and how much effort that takes. And then when I see something where they just tell you the cool thing, but they don't really explain any of the bits around it, it's like, that just feels so lazy, man. Just cutting to the chase every time. I don't like it.
I'm not saying it is, but it could be a cultural lost in translation issue. Maybe in Japan you grow up, because there's no, in America we're told, God created everything. That's it. Stop thinking. That's not the case there. There's probably more of a nature aspect growing up, and probably people just get it or understand it more. It's like pro wrestling. Deep down you know, but you don't want to know.
One of the differences between cultures, as much as I don't like anime as a whole, I am also jealous of their incredible history with drama mixed with animation. Why has America fallen so far behind in that regard? Is it just that Walt Disney had such a monopoly on it that he made Americans think that animated stuff had to be for kids?
Yes. That is the reason for a lot of things in America, is because some billionaire had a monopoly on something.
We're so far behind in the dramatic cartoonery. The only thing I could really think of off the top of my head would be something like heavy metal.
It's the first thing that came to my mind when you mentioned it.
Which was like a Canadian-American-German production. We couldn't even do that on our own. We needed every other Western culture to get in on it.
What's the other? Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Or Cool World, which is half live action.
Was that Ralph Bakshi?
I think so.
He's a name that jumps to mind because he was one of the few to really do adult stuff with animation, but then everything I can think of from him, it's mostly over-the-top adult stuff to the point where it becomes farcical, and it's like, okay, we're going to have anthropomorphic cats showing their private parts. You're not really meant to take it seriously, so it's not real highbrow stuff.
Was it Watership Down? That unbelievably sad rabbit one? That's pretty much an adult movie, but it's still marketed towards children. So, again, your point is proven that Disney has such a monopoly here.
Well, and then sometimes animators flirt with more mature stuff. Like Don Bluth, you look at some scenes in The Land Before Time or American Tail. I recently got an All Dogs Go to Heaven poster. And let me tell you, there are a couple of shots in that movie that still seem pretty extreme for a kid's movie.
Oh, yeah. What was the bad guys dragged to hell, basically, by screaming demons?
Yeah, man.
There's definitely horrifying scenes. We're both adults, so we don't go out and watch kids' movies. I don't know if they even do that in kids' movies anymore.
Oh, I bet they don't. I bet you it's watered-down trash.
Oh, these kids are growing up trauma-free, those poor little jerks.
What do you think non-anime viewers are going to bristle at as far as Akira goes. Like, what are the hardest aspects, do you think, for Americans to swallow when they're so used to Hollywood?
Americans in general aren't used to seeing... There's a couple boobs in here, to which I say grow up. Especially if you have no idea of the subject, you're going to be surprised by an animated boobie. And then, at the end, giant space baby with what may or may not be going on. And they never explain the prune children. Very elderly toddlers.
The California raisins.
Yeah, these psychic raisins, and one floats around like he's a fat Charles Xavier.
Yeah. I'd like to see fat Charles Xavier.
To me, my X-Men, and bring some of those cookies. Bring me cheese puffs and Magneto's head.
So since I couldn't get into the characters, I started noticing the structure. I don't think the structure is very tight. So it's a 2-hour movie, and an hour into it, it just felt like we were coming to the climax already because Tetsuo was waking up in the facility, squaring off against those illusions that the Raisin Kids were making. Then I saw there was still another hour to go. It felt like it could have had a big fight scene there and ended. But it just kept going, and there were more explosions. And then more people died, and it just went on and on. Do you think this movie could have been half an hour shorter?
Maybe. With your hour mark. They don't get into the terrorist cell blowing stuff up, really, again, until like that same hour mark. I dare say cut something out in the first half and have more action in the second half.
That was the most humanizing it ever gets when we see Canada and his gang going to that reform school. Because those were like the few moments where there wasn't a conspiracy and it wasn't a scene out of Scanners, nobody was blowing up. So I still want that stuff. I just wish they did more with it. Now, do you think Akira deserves all the hype that surrounds it?
Yes, and that might not be true as time goes on, because the cat's out of the bag when it comes to anime in general. It's still a visually striking movie with heavy themes. I will concede your 2D characters point, but, you know, that's just a lot of spinning plates. It's okay to miss one or two.
I don't know. After hearing about it so much, every time the subject comes up, oh, dude, oh, man, you're not into anime? You gotta watch Akira. That's how it all starts. You gotta check that out. I was expecting something that would be the pinnacle, not just with the animation, which it certainly is, but if you're going to have a standard bearer for a genre, wouldn't you expect it to be something that's firing on all cylinders? It's got the best character designs, backgrounds, animation, story, ending, whatever, just all of it. If you're going to try to represent a genre like that, and this falls squarely in the middle overall. It wasn't the worst 2 hours I've spent for this podcast. Speed Racer.
Yeah! I think you could argue that all the things you would put ahead of this came out after. It's also about cultural impact of punching through to other audiences. Yes, it was over there, but they also had Ninja Scroll. They had Vampire Hunter D or Robot Carnival. They had all those things, but it's like, what's punching through? What's showing up elsewhere and saying, hey, check us out? This is the one. It got the attention, and now it's stepping back and letting everyone else enjoy it.
Then I think that's better suited for somebody who's been in anime for a while, getting into it, to look at the context, the history. But for people that aren't well-versed in it and are just beginning, yeah, I don't know if this is a great example of something people should check out as their second or third anime movie.
I don't know, not everyone's as jaded as you are.
Or as learned.
Oh, yeah, learned, totally.
I have watched over 170 foreign films, John.
Oh, excuse me.
Now, a dozen of those are Japanese productions, so I don't have a lot of experience with that.
I'm assuming at least 150 of those are French?
No, only a third.
Wow, that's still...
Let's get into our second flick, Metropolis, from 2001. I specify the year here because there's at least one other film called Metropolis.
Yes.
But the one we're talking about, a technocrat and magnate, Duke Red, wants to shape the titular megacity, and apparently the world, through installing an android, tima, on a throne that will allow her to interface with the world's infrastructure. Notice how I'm saying some of these things as a question, because in typical anime fashion, even this that I like, by the end of it, I'm like, I still have some questions. Parallel to this, a detective and his nephew, Kenichiwa, they come to the city looking for a mad scientist who also happens to be Tima's creator, and he's funded by the Duke. When an explosion sends Tima and Kenichi into the bowels of the Undercity and out of the Duke's control, the race is on for the detective to find them before a coup plunges Metropolis into darkness. So anyone who knows me knows I don't like most anime. And the fact that I'm bringing Metropolis to the podcast is queer indeed. I came across it as I was looking at stuff related to the old German movie, which I've seen, I love. It's like 3 hours long. It's one of the few really long movies I would recommend. And it's a silent movie. Oh boy, if you're not used to really long movies, black and white, foreign, and silent, oh, you're going to get your ass kicked with that one.
Pre-Nazi Germany filmmaking.
And I saw some screenshots from this 2001 version, and I liked what I saw, so I watched the flick. I knew I had to share my findings with you and our loyal listeners. This was your first watch. How well do you think this film embodies anime? Do you think it fits snugly into the genre, or is it an outlier, and that's perhaps why someone with my tastes could get into it?
I don't think it's dead center, but I would call it an outlier. It's anime first. The core of this seems to be Industrial Revolution, which is not really a thing Japan has had to worry about for a while.
The closest they get is steampunk.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about worker revolution. We talked earlier about how it's all government uprisings, which they do have, but not in the fashion of worker revolution. It's usually just being angry at the government in general because they're warring bastards.
It's a worker revolution that ultimately gets squashed.
The core premise isn't really a Japanese subject, I would say. All subjects are human subjects, right? But, like, at the end of the day, it's not what you think of a typical Japanese subject.
And while it does have some communist undertones, I could also see it as being anti, especially that one moment where they pair the detective with a local robot detective, a second-class citizen, and he stands in the way of the mob, and they just murder his ass.
Unceremoniously. I was getting Isaac Asimov vibes. Caves of Steel-esque. They kill him. Every cool robot in this movie gets murdered.
Well, not Fifi. That trash robot that the pair meet early on, they call that robot Fifi.
I felt like I was hearing it as, like, B2 or something like that, but that, again, yeah, could have been translation issues. Or I just wasn't paying attention.
What Western properties does Metropolis remind you of, besides the original Metropolis?
It's got, I dare say, shades of Brazil.
Oh, I kind of see it.
It has this whole oppressive bureaucracy and modern-day news with the whole workers don't have rights anymore type of shit.
How sad it is that as advanced as the city Metropolis is, they still find a way to oppress robots.
That's just human nature. Somebody has to be oppressed, which is awful.
The human character models is one of the reasons I was able to easily get into this movie, because it made me think of old black and white Betty Boop style animation, and also Popeye.
The big forearms and the big shins.
Big eyes.
It's got Astro Boy, which is another anime.
Yeah, I thought of that too.
The hardest thing about this movie was getting into the animation.
As far as old American animation, you're not really a fan of the 20s or 30s?
I am. Once it all settled in, I think I really liked it. But it was initially, I had to wrap my head around. I was like, aesthetic is there, and you just gotta figure out, okay, there it is. It's, highlights. You ever do highlights where it's like, there's secretly a ruler in this picture somewhere, and once you find it, you just feel better.
Oh. Yeah, it was a magazine, right?
Yeah.
I've always disliked how young they make adults look in anime, but here it comes off as just more cartoony than, let's say, a 30-year-old man. He's supposed to be an adult, but then he looks like he's wearing eyeliner and makeup and looks more like a high schooler. I see that in a lot of anime, and that's one of the things I really don't get into.
That's why a lot of anime protagonists are teenagers. It's because it's just hard to draw people of varying ages without making one 107 and the other one 12.
In the mechanics of animation, to draw an older person requires more lines, and they want to smooth it out so they can quickly draw frames.
They got better things to do than putting in crow's feet.
What was your favorite part of the filmmaking here in Metropolis?
Once everything settled in, I loved the overall vibe of everything, of the 20s and 30s, mega city of the future, and how things are supposed to be. I thought it all worked really well. It was a little jarring, because all the backgrounds are like CGI, and then all the people are drawn. But once it started clicking, it really worked for me.
They had CGI elements in those backgrounds, but there's no way a lot of those backgrounds weren't airbrushed or something, right? Very painterly.
Painterly is a good way to describe it. Almost felt like, this is going to sound like a dig, but it's not. It felt like the animation department and the background department were like just two different companies entirely.
Constantly competing for the viewer's attention.
Yeah.
Those backgrounds are so varied and gorgeous, so much intricate detail. I'm of two minds because at the same time that they're beautiful, as I'm watching the movie, I don't feel like they do a good enough job of making focal points within those giant backgrounds, and sometimes my eyes took a while to find the characters in the scene.
Yeah, I had that same problem.
What was your favorite scene?
The start of the third act, when everything started blowing up and that music started playing, it really gave me Dr. Strangelove vibes. Plus there's one funny scene where Tima is trying to murder the little kid. Like you said, there's no focal point. This beautiful visage of things blowing up while music is playing, and then off in one of the corners, she just smacks him, but it's so tiny you could easily miss it.
I think I did miss it.
Tima is smacking around Kimichi. You can just hear a quick though, ah! While everything's blowing up and that beautiful music is playing.
At the beginning of that whole sequence, so they're in the ziggurat, which definitely straight out of Blade Runner. All the main players are in a room together. They're in the throne room. The detective, Kenichi, Tima, Duke Red, Rock, Duke Red's adopted ward, because he doesn't think of him as a son.
He very clearly said, don't call me father. The kid's a psychopath, too. I wouldn't want him as a kid.
Rock's been trying to kill Tima the whole movie, because obviously there's this like pseudo-sibling rivalry happening. It's like he was an only child and he wanted to stay an only child. He's got his gun raised, and security has their guns raised, and this beautiful rotation of the frame going into the barrel of one gun and then on the other gun. It's like a match cut and swirls into that gun. That felt very John Woo. Do you remember that moment?
I do, yeah. It was a visually great movie.
Movies in their last act, they don't really try to be as visually impressive or varied as the first act or two. So I like that this still had a couple tricks up its sleeve. It was still trying to do stuff. What's your biggest criticism for Metropolis?
All the side characters. We talked about the police officer and how quickly and unceremoniously he gets offed. They set up a lot of side characters. In general, there's a lot of characters, so it's hard to figure out, like, who is this movie about? There's no visual focal points a lot of times, but there doesn't seem to be any story focal point.
The same way the guy that did the manga looked at the original poster for Metropolis, we can look at the poster for this movie, and if you do, Tima is the biggest in the frame of the shot. It's all about her, ultimately. I wish they had gotten rid of the uncle character and just gave all those scenes to the robot detective.
That would have been much better. It's just overinflated with characters.
And instead of Kenichi coming from Japan, you could have just made him a street urchin character and he could have been in Metropolis to start with. You know, I don't think you would have lost too much there. He could still be anti-robot hate like he is. This suffers from the same anime problem we've been talking about, thin characterizations. I'm like, why does Kenichi care so much about Tima? And why is she so smitten with him? Is it just because he's the first human she interacted with that wanted to help her out? And what was Duke Red's vision for a perfect world exactly? What did he expect Tima to do once she plugged into that throne?
I don't know, because he was saying one thing was going to happen to her, and the detective was saying that something else was going to happen to her. So they didn't even seem to know what was going to happen to her, let alone what she was going to do.
Tima, you're going to have ultimate power. Okay. You've made this whole intricate scheme to build her and build the ziggurat and use all your resources and take over the government. So what was she supposed to do? What kind of government was going to be going forward? Did Duke Red expect to still be in power after Tima took over?
I don't know. Earlier in the movie, he mentioned not wanting to go into politics.
Yeah, that seems strange. He's at cross purposes there.
Yeah.
And just so I got this straight, when Tima goes off the rails, that's because Rock, or no, not Rock, but security, as they were firing at Rock, shot her in the heart? Or was Rock the one that shot her in the chest? But did she malfunction and that's why she went evil?
Or she was plugged into the machine.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure. That's true too. That could be it.
I'm going to say it was a metaphor. She got shot in the heart, so her humanity died, and now she's all evil robot.
Duke Red did say it was going to make her forget. And then she remembered Kenichi? John, what do you think most American viewers, the ones who already dislike anime, like myself,
Yep.
what do you think they aren't going to like about this movie?
Possibly the animation. You liked it, but I don't know if other people are going to like it. Because, yeah, it's very Astro Boy, the way they draw him.
I got a feeling people that do like anime already might not like this because compared to something like Akira and the demonic animes, a couple that I've seen, where they really go for broke with some of the gore stuff and even some of the sex stuff, the gross sex stuff. Unless it's like porn anime, they never want you to feel good about seeing a naked chick. But if you're used to that and that's what you're expecting in anime, they would say this movie might be too milquetoast. Like a 12-year-old could watch this.
The violence is toned down. I would argue if you need your violence higher to enjoy something, maybe try to stop enjoying things.
But that is one quality of anime is that this has. As cutesy as the animation is, there's still a couple of gross body horror moments. They can never stay away from it.
Oh, you gotta have something weird. It's anime. It's like the end of Akira. You had to have giant weird meat monster baby.
When Tima freaks out and she's got all those wires sticking in her like blood veins.
Yeah.
vessels popping out of her face, her skin. It's gross. As we land this plane, is there a specific demographic you've noticed as particularly anti-anime? Because I can't be the only one you've come across who isn't a huge fan.
It's a closed-minded group. I don't mean that in a derogatory term. You're not looking for new stuff. The type of people who aren't looking for new things. I'll liken it to trying to show foreign films in general to, like, my mother. She's trying to not be racist about the situation. She doesn't want to read. She gets distracted.
Similar to your observation, I'm going to say traditionalists. Hollywood traditionalists. They've had a steady film diet. They're used to a certain type of storytelling. And anime, I wouldn't say it's the complete opposite of the way we do it in the West, but there are definitely a lot of weird trains of thought that they go off on that doesn't feel like a Hollywood piece. And so I think a domestic audience is looking for certain beats, and they're not looking for random acts of violence. Even a Western example like A Clockwork Orange, that movie definitely has its fans. It doesn't have broad Western appeal.
If you talked about the random acts of violence, yeah, that's your perfect example right there. Because that's the point of Clockwork Orange, but I would agree with that, yeah.
I mean, when we see it in Akira, it fits. I don't want people who haven't seen it to think, oh, they're just being gratuitous and they're just doing random violence for the hell of it. I just mean, as an audience, you're not really... well, anime audiences are expecting it.
Yeah.
But non-anime fans, when that young girl gets assaulted in Akira, I'm like, ooh, I wasn't expecting it to go that far. It's anime, so, okay, yeah, I know it. I'm not shocked it went that far. As I'm viewing it, I'm not really wanting it or expecting it to go that far, and it does. And it's like, did we really need to take it that far? And I don't think an American movie typically would do something like that.
That's true, yeah.
We're just so puritanical.
And it's formula. Everything's formula. Anime is gonna go there, and I think that's part of the formula. There's a basic social formula for a film, and all Western, the good guy is gonna, like, skin of his teeth, get through and win the day, and anime, the good guy's gonna basically be outclassed to the point of zero hope, and then friendship happens, and everybody wins.
I was expecting for Akira to end as happy as it did. Like that one member of the biker gang, he survived, and it's him, Canada, and Canada's gal pal, pseudo love interest. And it's like, oh hey, we all survived, yay! But then you look around and the whole city's like half washed away.
May or may not look like a nuclear bomb went off.
They wanted to give you like a bittersweet ending. If you really think about it, I would imagine some people watch that movie and just go, yay, they lived, it's a good ending.
They lived.
If someone wants to ease into this genre, what recommendations do you have for folks? Like, not necessarily the most common examples of what anime is. What can count within it and maybe could even be considered cheating where anime is concerned? Your only concern is to show a hater something that is at least partly in the anime world, and you want them to like it.
This both counts and is cheating. I think you go with Studio Ghibli, who does have a working relationship with Disney. They're basically Disney of Japan. They're putting out the most palatable stuff. You're looking at Spirited Away, Howl's Moving Castle, Princess Mononoke.
There's like a big blue hamster in one of those, right? With a tiny umbrella.
My Neighbor Totoro.
Okay.
You're thinking My Neighbor Totoro.
What is that creature?
Totoro. He may or may not represent death. That's a whole different... There's like college courses taught on that movie.
Oh man, yeah, that's so frickin' anime.
Of dreams of yesterday.
You've reached the end of this episode of The Screen Companion. Thank you for listening.